All right, chemist, I'm here to answer some questions for you that you had on this homework problem set. And I'm taking you to problem set number 2, page 29 and 30. We're going to start on page 29 with question number 11, which is numbered from the previous problem set. I'm going to go ahead and start with this conversion here. 6.94 milliliters equals how many centiliters? Here's how you're going to set up your problems, and then I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. So watch the video first all the way through, and then you can decide which way you want to do it. I don't mind either way. There's one that we're going to start with, and it's called good old-fashioned dimensional analysis. So with good old-fashioned dimensional analysis, we have our steps, and the first is to always write down what you are given and put that on the right side of the picket fence that we're going to draw. Since we only have milliliters and there's no per units, nothing that we're dividing by, we're just going to put that right on top of our picket fence. And I'm going to go ahead and get ready for step number 2, which is to determine the conversion that I need and place the units correctly. Now what that means is I want to get rid of this and I want to go to this. So I need to figure out what I need to divide by and where I need to put these units so that I can get rid of the ones I don't want. I don't want the milliliters. So since I don't want the milliliters, I'm going to put milliliters also on the other side of this picket fence with the hopes that this and this will cancel. Now my question is, now how am I going to get from here to here? I may not know directly how many milliliters are in a centiliter. You might know that, and if you know that, you can go straight to it. But if you don't, here's what you can do. You can go to an intermediate step. And for that, I'm going to use the definition of what is a milliliter. A milliliter, just like a milliliter, is 1,000 of the bigger, 1,000th of the bigger unit. So it takes 1,000 of these little guys to equal one big one. So 1,000 of these will equal 1 liter by itself. And just using that definition, I'm going to use my first conversion. 1,000 milliliters is the same as 1 liter. So I'm able to write this conversion factor. And again, because of my sides here that I want to get rid of and cancel, my units, I should say, they are going to be put on the different sides of this picket fence. I'm getting rid of those units. And now I'm left with liters. Okay, that's still not where we want to go. We want to move one step further. So we're going to go ahead and continue step 2 until we get to the desired unit that we want. The desired unit, again, is centiliters. And I know I need to get rid of this liters part here. So with good old-fashioned dimensional analysis, whatever I want to get rid of on this side, I have to put down here. So there is my liters. It's going to cancel out. But I need to get to centiliters now. To go from liters to centiliters, I'm also going to use a definition. I know a centimeter is 1,000th of a meter. In other words, it takes 1,000 centa whatevers to equal the big whatever it is. So I'm going to go ahead and use that definition, just like we wrote here, just with centiliters and liters. Since there's 100 centiliters in 1 liter, and I may have misspoke just now, I said 1,000. It's 100 centiliters in 1 liter. That's how I'm going to go ahead and use this definition. So let's just back up for a second. We started with this unit. That was our given. We determined the conversion and we placed the units on the opposite sides of this picket fence to cancel. We used the definition of what a milliliter is to write this conversion factor. We did the same thing with this one to go from liters to centiliters. And again, all of our units that have canceled out leave us with centiliters, which is what we want. So now we're on steps number 4 and 5. And step number 4 is just to multiply and divide. And step 5 is to find our sig fig answer. Multiplying and dividing with this is 6.94 times 1 times 100. And I'm putting all the units here so that you see. Then we also have divided by whatever's on the bottom. Divided by 1,000, divided by 1. All of that equals 0.694 centiliters. Now I've done the multiplication and division steps, right? I need to just check to see my sig figs if they are the same. Because I have a decimal point present, I'm going to start from the Pacific side, and I have 1, 2, 3 sig figs in this number. So I should have 3 when I finish. Again, starting with that decimal point, I'm starting on the Pacific side. I will skip over this 0 because it is not significant until I get to my first significant number starting from that left side. So 1, 2, 3. You're going to find that when you do metric to metric conversions, the sig figs will not change as long as you're going from liters, one form of liters to another form of liters, or a smaller to a bigger one, or bigger to a smaller. When you're doing these metric conversions where you're dividing by tens and hundreds and thousands, the nice thing about it is that your numbers here are preserved and your sig figs are preserved in your answer. You should always check just to be sure, but you'll probably get the gist of what I'm saying on this problem set when you do it out. So we've done all of these steps. Started with a given, determined the conversion and factors that we needed, and placing the units correctly. We continued until our desired unit was reached. We multiplied and divided, and we found our sig fig answer. Good to go. Here is something else that we're going to do for this one. There is a smarty pants, fancy schmancy, really clever, sneaky way that I'm going to show you now. And the sneaky way has to do with this chart that you can find on page 29. So this chart gives us some definitions of what these words are. And these prefixes, like giga for gigabyte or mega for megabyte, as you probably have learned last year, represent some power of 10. So this is 10 to the 9th. This is 10 to the 6th. If you want to write 1,000 out, it's 10 to the 3rd, 10 to the 2nd, 10 to the 1st, 10 to the 0 power. And then the negatives, 10 to the negative 1, which is 0.1. 10 to the negative 2, which is 0.01. Get confused with all these zeros and ones. Not a very binary thinker. Let's pause for a second to think about how we can use this in a sneaky, smarty pants way to do the same problem. So let's go back to the beginning for a second. And here's where I hope you didn't write all of this down so that you actually experienced this video first before you did it. 6.94 milliliters equals how many centiliters? Well, what we're going to do is we are going to memorize just a couple of things here. You need to know a couple of these things, and it will always come to help you when you're reading the metric units. And the things that you need to know are in this center part. The giga and the mega and the micro and the nano, that's nice if you understand that. But the main kind of players in this metric system are these 6. And we're going to go ahead and learn that with something real simple. And the real sneaky smarty pants way to memorize this first and then use those definitions starts with this sentence. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Okay, and you may have heard a different version of this sentence before if you ever had to memorize this. But King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Or King Henry doesn't drink chocolate milk is a simpler way to do it. This usually is here for a reason. I'm going to show you what it is. The king is a mnemonic for kilo, Henry for hecto, doesn't for deca, deci is drink, centi is chocolate, and milk is milli. Okay, so each of these letters is the beginning sound or letter of this first letter here of what the metric units are. Kilo, hecto, deca, deci, centi, milli. You might wonder what usually is. I think of that as unit. Okay, what does this have to do with anything? Well, if you remember the order of this, you can always remember what each one of these is supposed to really mean. Kilo, which is represented by a K, means 1,000. Hecto, which is represented by H, means 100. And if you put these in order, you can kind of see the pattern that we make here. 1,000, we drop a 0. 100, we drop a 0. 10, we drop a 0. 1. We put a decimal point. We add a 0 up in front. 0.1. We add another 0 before this one. 0.01. We add another 0. 0.001. That's the pattern that we're making. You could think of it almost like it's 1,000 backwards. It's almost like a mirror image. 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0. Okay, all of that is fun and great. And we can play with this stuff until the cows come home. How will this help us in this problem? Well, here's how this is going to help us. We're going to go ahead and just slide this up for a second. We're going to start again with our picket fence. Again, the math and the sneaky smarty pants way also starts with the same kind of reason that we did and we used in the previous one. So we're going to start with our given, of course. But here is the sneaky smarty pants way. I can put anything that's the same on the top and the bottom. For example, I can write the French word for 1,000 and the English word for 1,000 on the top and the bottom of this. Because they're the same thing, it will cancel out and that is fine. I can multiply by any conversion factor as long as what I write on the top of the picket fence is the same as the bottom. Well, if you caught what I said just a few minutes ago, this milli means 0.001. So doesn't that mean that this is the same? What I can do is get real sneaky and say, I don't want this milli here. So I'm going to divide out just the milli and put down what that means on the top. So I'll say it again. Anything that we put as a conversion factor, the top and the bottom of it, is identical. It's the same value. Milli means 0.001. So I can use this definition to get rid of the milli. And when I get rid of the milli, it doesn't get rid of the liters too. Just the M. Just that milli. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing because I'm thinking, now I'm in liters. If I multiply this number by this number, I still keep my units of liters, and that's not where I want to go. I want to get to centiliters. So guess what I'm going to do here? I want to get the centa up here. So I'm going to do a second thing here. I want the centa to stay with the liters. I don't want it to divide out or do anything funny. So I put that on top, and on the bottom I put the definition of what centa means. 0.01. This is the sneaky smarty pants way to do dimensional analysis for metric. Okay, so here, just looking at it, the units that I'm left with, because this does not cancel out with anything, are centiliters. And the numbers that I have to multiply are up here, and the ones I have to divide by are down here as well. I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like. When I multiply this whole thing out, it's 6.94 milliliters times 0.001 times centa divided by milli divided by 0.01 equals, if we put that in the calculator, it's the same number, 0.694 centiliters. Or if we just think about what we're adding into the calculator, the numbers that we really need to focus on are 1, 2, 3 numbers, as opposed to all the other ones in the other example. 6.94 milliliters times 0.001 divided by 0.01 equals centiliters. And this number here is in centiliters. This is the sneaky smarty pants way to be tricky and not have to worry about measuring or knowing how many centiliters are in a milliliter and how many megaliters are in a milliliter. We don't need to know all of these things if we know that King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk and understand what these definitions are. Kilo is 1,000, hecto is 100, deca is 10. We have our unit here, which acts as a mirror, and over here we have the exact opposite if we look at the pattern that we have formed. So I hope this will help you to finish out those problem sets. I just wanted to give you a quick tip and wish you the best of luck in finishing that this weekend. And we will get back to work on Monday. Later on this week, we're going to have our first summative. So good luck, folks.